Hello, beautiful people. Happy Friday and welcome to your astrological forecast for next week, starting from Monday the 13th. But before we get there, of course, let's just remember that this week we experienced the new moon in Taurus, which took place on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, depending where you are in the world. For me here in Europe, it took place on Wednesday morning, and it happened in conjunction with its own ruler, Venus. Venus was in a closing phase conjunction to this new moon, and also in conjunction with Uranus and Jupiter. And the exact conjunction between Sun and Uranus and Sun and Jupiter will actually take place next week, which is something that we will be talking about. And there was really not much else going on after this new moon in Taurus, which is just telling us how really important this energy that got seeded during this new moon in Taurus truly is. And we will see, we will have much more clarity of what that actually means with the full moon in Taurus, which will be taking place in the middle of November, right before Pluto moves into Aquarius for the third and the final time. But of course, that is for another conversation. However, I just wanted to mention that because post this new moon in Taurus, we had no new exact aspects taking place, no major aspects anyway, because of course, moon keeps moving and making aspects all the time. Moon actually moved into sign of Gemini on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, depending where you are in the world, and then made the trine to Pluto straight away. And actually, right now, as I'm recording this, moon still is in the sign of Gemini. However, moon will move into the sign of her rulership into Cancer later on tonight, depending where you are in the world. For me, here in Europe, once again, it will be early on tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. And this is where moon will remain until Monday. So yet another week, we are ending with moon in a cardinal sign, this time the sign of her own rulership, which is where the moon is the strongest, because it's very intuitive in connection with the emotion. And of course, this is supporting Sun that is in Taurus, because well, this is of course the first sextile since the new moon in Taurus, because Taurus is about about tangible and physical safety and security that comes from providing for ourselves what we need in order to survive, and Cancer is about the emotional safety and security, about our emotional self-sufficiency, because as we know, the signs always come in couples. Cancer comes in opposition with Capricorn, and Capricorn is what makes us feel safe and secure because of the boundaries that we can create. So anyway, this is going too much into rabbit holes. All that said, we are ending this week and starting a new one with moon in a cardinal sign, and this time is the sign of her rulership, which is very significant, telling us about this new direction with regards to who we are, because because Cancer in evolutionary astrology is our ego identity, all these labels that we identify ourselves through and as. So then on Monday, May the 13th, we'll have the exact Sun-Uranus conjunction. So once again, this is something that was already present during this new moon in Taurus. It happened in conjunction with Uranus. However, the exact degree conjunction between Sun and Uranus is taking place on Monday the 13th on 23 degrees and 6 minutes of Taurus. And this is closing the cycle that began between Sun and Uranus last year on May the 9th, which is when they last had a conjunction. And at the time, of course, the North Node was still in the sign of Taurus, and actually that was 4 days after the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which took place last year on 5/5 portal 5/5 of 2023, and this was the last eclipse in Scorpio of that cycle, because as we know, the last eclipse in Taurus happened last fall on October 28th, and now we've just been experiencing this Libra Aries eclipses this spring anyway. So the cycle that began in May last year has just ended, and a new cycle had begun between Sun and Uranus. And right after that, Moon moves into the sign of Leo. This is on Monday. And right after that, Venus, as the current ruler of the South Node and also the ruler of Taurus, and therefore the ruler of Sun and also the ruler of Uranus, is making her first sextile to Saturn since their conjunction, which took place on March 21st, which was right before the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, ruled by Venus. So it's interesting that Venus started a new cycle between herself and Saturn right before we had the illumination of the eclipse that started this, Libra eclipses, the round of Libra eclipses. Of course, we had the first one in Aries a year ago in April. However, the first one in Libra took place in October, mid-October, and then we had the illumination of this at the end of March when we had the first eclipse of this season, and that was right after Venus, as the ruler of the South Node and the ruler of Libra and Taurus, had her conjunction with Saturn, and now Venus is making a first sextile to Saturn, which is always about the Taurian quality. How do we trust ourselves? What do we need? What do we value? How do we value ourselves and all that? And we need to establish all of this ground, that sense of ourselves within, put the roots down, become strong and grounded in order to go on this hero's journey and feel supported, right? Okay, then on Tuesday, just Moon is making her aspects as she always does. Moon actually will trine North Node on Tuesday, and also Chiron. Then on Tuesday night, Wednesday, early morning, depending where you are in the world, Ceres will station retrograde. On Wednesday, we will have Mercury changing sign. Mercury will move into the sign of Taurus at last. We know Mercury has been in the sign of Aries for a very long time, since the beginning of March, and then Mercury had its retrograde in Aries from April 1st until April 25th, and then Mercury just caught up, got out of his shadow, and now Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus, where Mercury will remain until June the 3rd, and that is only 3 days before the new moon in Gemini, ruled by Mercury. And interestingly enough, right after Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus, Moon will move into the sign of Virgo, which is the sign ruled by Mercury. So Moon will actually make a trine to Mercury in Taurus straight away. That's the first aspect Moon is going to make. Only half an hour after Moon will move into the sign of Virgo, she will trine Mercury as her ruler while she's in Virgo, and Mercury just moved into the sign of Taurus, which is about grounding the energy that we had the opportunity to play with, or to understand, or to discover, or to become aware of during Mercury's retrograde in Aries, because Mercury was making us to reevaluate and reflect on things. Okay, we're moving on. On Thursday the 16th, Chiron will square Ceres, retrograde, Pallas will move into Scorpio, and Venus will make a trine to Ceres. On Friday the 17th, Mercury will make his first square to Pluto. So only recently, I believe it was last week, right? Venus, just before the Taurus New Moon, Venus made her first square to Pluto, and now Mercury is making his first square to Pluto since their conjunction, which took place between Mercury and Pluto on February 5th, and Mercury was the first one of the personal planet that conjuncted Pluto in Aquarius and started this cycle of 20 years worth of conjunction between Pluto and personal planets in the sign of Aquarius. Mercury was the first one, and now Mercury is going to be making his first square, which is called Crisis in Action, with regards to his relationship between himself and Pluto. Mercury is in Taurus. Once again, it's making us to really feel deeply into what we've learned when Mercury was retrograde in the sign of Aries, about this new way that we need to start identifying reality and connecting with this, with it, because it's in alignment with this new direction. Mercury conjuncted North Node, Mercury conjuncted Chiron 3 times. Actually, Mercury conjuncted Chiron for the third and final time a day before the new moon in Taurus. So Mercury was already in a new phase conjunction with Chiron during the time we had the new moon in Taurus. So now Mercury is squaring Pluto, telling us something. We need to take an action on something. We need to get to know thyself, know ourselves, in order to feel individuated and feel into who we really are, and be able to connect with our heart and our sense of purpose and destiny. Okay, then on Saturday the 18th, Moon will move into the sign of Libra, another cardinal sign, and the sign of a new direction, of course, and that's where Moon will remain until Monday. Yes, Monday. when Moon will move into the sign of Scorpio. Okay, so on Saturday the 18th, Moon is moving into the sign of Libra, and Venus will make her conjunction to Uranus, Venus as the ruler of Uranus. So this is closing a cycle that began between herself, what is this day? It's Friday. Just check my notes. Sorry, I had a little funny moment. I couldn't see my notes. Okay, so Venus is closing the cycle that began between herself and Uranus last year on 30th of March 2023. So 3/30th 2023, and that was right after the first new moon in Aries, which was not an eclipse because that one took place on March 21st 2023. And it, interestingly enough, that number always also up to 3, 21st, 2 and 1, 3, and third month. And this is the 30th. So anyway, the last conjunction between Venus and Uranus took place right after the first new moon in Aries 2023, which was not an eclipse. The next one was an eclipse. That one took place on 0 degrees. Eclipse took place on 29 degrees. Both on analytic degrees, the degrees of change, karmic change. They are representing that something is changing, and it's divinely orchestrated, pretty much. And also at this time, when Venus made a conjunction to Uranus, she was not just the ruler of Uranus, she was also the ruler of the North Node at the time. And this took place, as I mentioned, on March 30th, and actually on the same day we had Mars made a trine to Saturn. Mars at the time was in a sign of Cancer. It was encouraging us to get to know ourselves when it comes to our emotional connection to who we are. And yes, of course, Cancer is our identity, and was trining Saturn in Pisces. That was happening on the same day when Venus had her last conjunction to Uranus, and now Venus is having a conjunction to Uranus under influence of Moon in Libra, ruled by Venus. And Venus is conjuncting Uranus on 23 degrees and 24 minutes. Then on the same day, on Saturday the 18th, Sun is conjuncting Jupiter, also ruled by Venus. All of these are ruled by Venus, including the moon, right? Including the moon. Everybody's ruled by Venus on Saturday, all these aspects. And the last conjunction between Sun and Jupiter actually took place in Aries, and that happened in April last year. And on the same day, Venus at the time in Gemini was making a trine to Pluto, still at the time in Aquarius on 16 minutes. That was right before Pluto station retrograde in Aquarius for the first time. So anyway, so this is again a culmination of a cycle that began, as I mentioned, they conjuncted last time, Sun and Jupiter. They conjuncted last time in a sign of Aries. So that is a new direction, that is a new beginning. And now them conjuncting in Taurus, under influence of Venus conjuncting Uranus in Taurus and Moon being in a Taurus, it's all pointing us back to Venus. Venus as the ruler of the South Node, as the ruler of the node we are trying to evolve and resolve, because this node is in Libra. It's saying how much of the power we externalize to the external environment and made us feel disempowered, that now we need to reclaim and help us to help ourselves to individuate, to get into this new direction, especially with Jupiter. Jupiter Sun last conjunction in Aries, which was saying we are seeing a new story. And now this Jupiter just recently had a conjunction to Uranus and saying, okay, we are putting the roots down and discovering the truth about ourselves, because we are starting this new story that is not to do with what the external world is telling you what it should be, right? Like we creating it. So Venus having a conjunction with Uranus at the same time as Sun is having a conjunction to Jupiter, and Moon is in Libra, and all of this is ruled by Venus. This is very profound, because this is resetting a lot of cycles that, of course, in this case started last year. But as I mentioned, during the time of the last Sun and Jupiter conjunction, which was at the beginning of April last year, Venus was in a sign of Gemini, which is about choice. Gemini is about multidimensionality, about understanding who we really are from the multidimensional point of view. And this was offering a trine to Pluto in Aquarius at the time. This is last year in April 2023. So yes, so this is very significant thing to mention, because of the story that we are telling and we are weaving for the future, because the next lunation we will be experiencing, of course, will be the full moon in Sagittarius, which we'll be talking about in the next video. So anyway, so this is all on Saturday. So Saturday is pretty loaded. And then on Sunday, we are experiencing Sun making an opposition to Pallas. Also, Sun is making his first sextile to Neptune on 29 degrees and 26 minutes. And this is again first sextile since they conjunct. And that was, let me check my notes. Last time Sun made a conjunction to Neptune was on March 17th, again right before we started the eclipse season of this year, because on March 25th we had the lunar eclipse in Libra. So Sun conjuncted Neptune on March 17th, and now Sun is making a sextile to Neptune. But as I keep mentioning with regards to Sun and aspects to other planets, it is a little bit different than other planets. So in this case, even though it is a first sextile, which normally has the Taurian flavor, this is actually putting Neptune behind the Sun, which is making the closing sextile, which is Aquarian flavor. So Sun is in the sign of Taurus on 29 degrees by this stage on Sunday the 19th, which actually I just put it here for myself to remind myself to mention that the 19 is the card of the Sun in the tarot. 19 is the card of the Sun, and Sunday is the day of the Sun, and this next Sunday will be the 19th of March, and this is the day when Sun is making his first sextile to Neptune on 29 degrees, which is the analytic degrees, which is telling us about closing of the cycle. So with the Sun being done with the Taurus archetype illuminated to us, because when the Sun is, that's where, the universe is shining the torch. It was trying to help us understand the Taurian archetype with a new point of view, from a new perspective, through a new lens, and now that is helping us to contribute towards closing of this cycle of the Pisces age, towards closing of the cycle that are no longer in resonance, because as I mentioned, in this case, because Sun is involved, Neptune is put behind the Sun, which has the frequency of the closing sextile, this waning sextile, which has the frequency of Aquarius. So it's about liberation, breaking free, and going beyond, right? And then the final thing that is taking place this week, which even though for most of us will be already on Monday the 20th, but for some of you guys across the Atlantic, it will be still on Sunday the 19th, Mars will make a conjunction to North Node, ruled by Mars. So this is very significant, because this is literally as of Monday the 20th, Mars will be in a new phase conjunction with his North Node. It's not Mars's North Node, because of course each planet has a North and a South Node. This is the North Node, that is a collective North Node that currently is ruled by Mars in the house of his rulership in Aries, and Mars is making a conjunction to North Node, and this is literally what is really starting this cycle of this new, because Mars as the ruler of the North Node will be in a new phase conjunction with the North Node. That's it. There is no more closing of the cycle. There is a new phase conjunction under the influence of Moon being in the sign of Libra, which is all about the balancing, all about equality, trying to find a balance in this reality we are experiencing at the moment, which we are experiencing a lot of crises in. And we cannot find a balance if we don't know what the crisis feels like, because we need to know the extreme, which is why we have Aries and Libra. We have the two extremes, and then once we experience the extreme, we go, okay, this is not what I want, and I don't want that thing either. Let's go and try to find what is the balance in here. So again, it's very, very interesting that we have Moon in a sign of Libra at the same time as Sun is making a sextile to Neptune on 29 degrees of Taurus, and at the same time Mars is making a conjunction to North Node. So at the time when Sun is making a sextile to Neptune, Mars is still in a closing phase conjunction with the North Node, because the conjunction between the two takes place 5 hours later. So after that, we start in a new cycle. So as I mentioned, for some of us, this is actually already happening on Monday the 20th, and subsequently Sun, Mercury will still oppose Chiron after that, but after that, Sun will move into the sign of Gemini. Monday the 20th, May the 20th, Sun will move into the sign of Gemini. So we will be starting a Gemini season. So once again, isn't this interesting? We have Moon in a sign of Libra. We just had eclipses in Libra and Aries, of course, because that's where the nodes are. And in Libra, we have that South node in Libra, the one ruled by Venus. And Venus was the rule of the Sun until Monday the 20th. And this is all happening at the 29 degrees. We have Moon in a sign of Libra, which is not on 29 degrees, but Moon in a sign of Libra, which is where the South node is. The South node. So, and actually Moon is making a conjunction with the South node right before the Sun Neptune sextile. So Moon is going to be in a new phase conjunction with the South node, even though we know Moon is conjuncting South node every month because Moon has only 28.5-day cycle, but Moon will be in a new phase conjunction with the South node at the time of the Sun sextile to Neptune and at the time of Mars conjuncting North node. So this is all telling us about closing and opening of a new cycle, closing the cycle, opening of a new cycle. And right after, Sun is moving into sign of Gemini, which once again represents the choice. It's a mutable energy. It's saying we need to make a choice. We need to start identifying reality in this different way, you know, because there are these multiple ways, multiple timelines, multiple choices to choose from. We just need to understand that they are there. We need to tap into them. And that's why Mercury is now in the sign of Taurus, to help us ground this new sparkle of energy that was brought through Aries season, and especially now this new moon in Taurus. During that time, Mercury was still in the sign of Aries on the last degrees. So anyway, so we will enter the new week after this one, with Sun in the sign of Gemini, Pallas making opposition to Jupiter, and Moon moving into the sign of Scorpio. And this is then preparing us for the next lunation, which will be the full moon in Sagittarius, taking place on Thursday, the 23rd of May. And this is something I will be covering in my next video. So, okay, so with regards to everything I just mentioned, we can see what is actually going on this week. So as I started the video with, this week that we are just ending now, you know, taking us back to present moment, the most significant thing was the new moon in Taurus. But after that, there was no other major aspect taking place exact this week, because this energy had to be integrated. Taurus is a receptive energy, it's a yin energy, it's the earth. We had to ground that energy, and it's this continuously, this analogy of roots that is coming through. It came through for me and Adrian when we were making the video about new moon in Taurus. It also came through for my soul sis Marissa and the recording she made with regards to this new moon in Taurus. Even the card that she pulled with regards to this new moon in Taurus was the card of growth, which has a person standing on a planet, in a sense, like a ball, and putting roots down like a tree. So this is what we're doing. So with the Aries season, we had all this sparkle of inspiration. We felt this new energy that was streaming through, that was coming through, and now we are rooting this energy. We are when you have the point of inception, conception, when the what you call them, cells start dividing. And it's the same thing when we put the seed in the earth, and then it starts growing, right? But it needs to take the roots, it needs to get the foundation round so it can grow, because once again, as we know, we are talking about the ground earth trine here. So when we talk about Taurus, automatically the Virgo and Capricorn archetype are being activated because they are in the same element, right? Earth. So it's all about putting the roots down and learning about our sense of resiliency. That's why it's so important to have these roots, because when we know that the roots are strong, we know we can withstand anything, we can survive. And that's why this analogy of roots, of trees, of any plants, it's coming through, because when the roots are strong, we can withstand and withhold anything. So that's what's been going on now, especially during this new moon in Taurus, this seed that is going to withstand the test of time, time has been seeded, but because it was in conjunction with Uranus and Jupiter, it could be anything. We don't like it's technically what it's saying is that there will be so many new situation and unexpected situation going on in our lives. And as I've been sharing in my practical application of astrology, my suitcase got lost, so half of my belongings are somewhere, and I still haven't retrieved it. And this is just minor example, but it's one of the things, something unexpected happens, something that is not really in my control. Like, yeah, I can send email and call people, but it's not in my control. I cannot go and fetch it myself. I don't even know where it is, and I don't even know if I'll see it again. So this is something that's out of our control, something unexpected that can take place and will keep taking place, because with Uranus being in Taurus, the things that we are attached to, that we are fixated on, that we are comfortable with, are being challenged, because Uranus is the planet of change, is the greatest awakener, is the one that is breaking us out of this mold, of this comfort zone, and saying, no, it's time to grow, it's time to evolve. Uranus is the ruler of Pluto. Pluto is now retrograde until October, right? Until October 11, 12, depending where you are in the world. So Pluto will station direct after the eclipses, after the next new moon in Libra, which will be on October 2nd. So we have all this energy of like integration of this new that started streaming through, concepted and seeding through throughout Pluto, again moving to sign of Aquarius on January 20th, and the eclipses, and then the eclipse in Aries in a new phase conjunction with North Node. And as I mentioned multiple times, all these first conjunctions between Pluto and the personal planet, just like now, as I mentioned, Mercury will make a square to Pluto. So this is again the first quarter square after they started this new cycle of conjunction in the sign of Aquarius that will take place over the next 20 years time. So this is something will be evolving over the next 20 years time, and it with regards to thinking beyond, identifying reality in a way we have never done before. So with all this Uranian energy present, we don't know what it is, because we're going beyond everything we experienced before. And with this Mars conjuncting North Node at the end of the week, under the influence of this moon in Libra and Sun in conjunction with Neptune, well, not in conjunction, Sun making the first sextile to Neptune but on 29 degrees. And then, as I said, Mars will make a conjunction to North Node. So Mars is still in a closing phase conjunction with North Node when that takes place, and this is putting Neptune behind, which is the Aquarius flavor. We have a lot of Aquarius flavor here, and this 29 degrees, which is about the culmination. We are maxed out. The sign through which that planet has traveled, now it has a totality of understanding. So again, with the Sun just about to move into Gemini 1 week from Monday on May the 20th, we will be starting season, which will show us there are multiple timelines available, there are multiple options. But in order to understand there are multiple options, like for example, like the tree, okay, which direction am I going to grow? How many branches do I want to put out there? How far do I want to grow? How high, whatever. It needs to know that I can trust myself, that I have these roots that are going to withhold the test of time, weather, like any condition stuff and stuff like that. So this is technically what's been going on here. We had this Taurus season and this Taurus New Moon in conjunction with Uranus, which said we need to put a strong roots down because we don't know what's coming, and unexpected things can happen all the time. So we need to trust ourselves that no matter what happened external of us, and many times there are things we cannot control, that are not in our power to control, we know that we can survive. We know that we can trust ourselves, and we know that we will be okay, because all that stuff that the main thing that we need in order to make it through life is within us. The tools are within us, the key is within us. And Chiron is about to move into Taurus within next 2 years, so key will be in Taurus. At the moment the key Chiron is in Aries, which is again telling about we need to be brave to face these things that until this point were making us feel afraid, because there is no other way. There is no other way. We're not going back, we're going forward. And this is something which people are sick hearing about, but we keep talking about it all the time, because this is what it really is. We are literally creating a new history. We are creating a completely new era, a new period of human evolution that is called Aquarian age, but that we are at the very beginning of it. So we don't know, like, what does this mean? What where are we going with this? And who are we becoming as humans? What are we evolving into? And this is why we need this strong foundation, these strong roots, because once again, Taurus trines Virgo, which is the hero's journey. This is what's going to support you no matter how many trials and tribulation life is going to put you through, how many challenges, Virgo, humble archetype. We go out there as Leo, I have purpose, I'm the center of my universe. Of course, we all have a sun somewhere, and then we fall on our butt, and then we are humbled by the experience, and we learn the lessons, and we gather the tools, and we continue on our hero's journey, and then eventually we get to Capricorn, which in a high vibration is the self-mastery. That's the highest vibration of Capricorn, the self-mastery. You know thyself, but it started from Taurus, right? So this is where we at now. Taurus season, new moon in Taurus, in conjunction with Uranus, and Jupiter is in a new phase conjunction with Uranus, starting a cycle that, starting a new cycle that resetted the cycle that began in 1941 with regards to Uranus, Jupiter in Taurus, or 2010 and 11 with regards to Uranus and Jupiter in Pisces and Aries. Actually, the first conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus in 2010 happened in Aries on 0 degrees, and the further two, because they conjuncted 3 times in that period of time, last one of which took place on the solar eclipse in Capricorn in January 2011. Capricorn, self-mastery. So we seeded the story of the future based on what we've learned from the past and understanding the meaning, and now being in this Taurus season. And once again, what we've got going on this week, starting from Monday the 13th with Sun conjuncting Uranus. Sun has gone almost at this stage, of course, Sun still has 7 degrees to go on Monday, but Sun has gone through the 2 decans of Taurus, so through the Taurian decan and Virgo decan. By the time Sun is conjuncting Uranus, it's in a Capricorn decan. It's on 23 degrees, so it's got a flavor of Capricorn. People born with Sun in 20 degrees and later on has a flavor of Capricorn. This is a Capricornian decan. So Sun is conjuncting Uranus on the Capricornian decan of Taurus. So we need to put the roots down. We need to trust ourselves. We need to discover the truth about who we are, as just been pointing out to us by Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, because the last one was in Pisces, which said, no, this was the story of the past. This story no longer resonates. It lost meaning. It held a meaning, but it no longer holds a meaning. We are not victim. We are not martyrs. We now have to step into our own, because we are living in the age of Aquarius that supports individuation, multidimensionality, being connected to your sense of purpose, which can only be found within. It can never be found outside of you, because it's Leo, it's the heart, right? So anyway, so having the Sun conjuncting Uranus on Capricornian decan and resetting the cycle that began between 2 of them, when the North Node was still in the sign of Taurus, which was pointing to us, this is the pathway, Taurus, and now we are in Aries. Now it's like, okay, we're starting the new cycle, but we already been pre-born since 2022, which is when Mars was making his last conjunctions to all these planets, because Mars has a 2-week cycle, 2 weeks 2-year cycle, right? So 2022, that's when the North shifted into Taurus Scorpio in January 2022. So everything that's been taking place until July 2023 happened under influence of South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus. So we were trying to discover what it is that makes us feel disempowered, and what do we have to face in order to feel more stable and secure within ourselves, so we can put these roots, these strong roots down that cannot be taken out easily, and it will withhold and withstand any pressure, right? So yeah, so that's very interesting. And like I said, Venus is making the sextile to Saturn. So this is the first sextile, as again, Taurian energy. And then, like I mentioned, Mercury himself is moving into Taurus on Wednesday the 15th, helping us to ground this new information, this new knowledge. Of course, Mercury traditionally doesn't particularly like being in Taurus, because Taurus is very slow and Mercury likes moving very fast. However, as we mentioned, Mercury is not there for that long. It's only there until June 3rd. So like for what? not even 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, so Mercury is fine. You know, last year Mercury had a retrograde in Taurus. That was much harder for Mercury because, oh my God, you know, in Taurus being retrograde and being in Taurus and retrograde, like a double slow energy. But now Mercury is going through Taurus very quickly because it's helping us to ground, but we don't have time to waste because Sun is already about to move into the sign of Gemini, which is saying, okay, we need to think fast and make these new choices based on this new energy that streamed through, and it's been rooted in and grounded in us to support us in this new direction, whilst Pluto is in retrograde, helping us to reevaluate. Like, okay, I already gave you the flavor of what Aquarian age might represent, and now we have to go over the things that are not Aquarian or preventing us from being Aquarian, because as we know, Pluto is moving into Capricorn one more time, and it's going to show us that, okay, this is the last of it. This is the last of the structure that made us feel safe and secure until this point, but it's not going to do that going forward, because in the age of Aquarius, you cannot rely on someone outside of you. You have to rely on yourself. You have to be your own authority, your own master, and actually being a geek. All this moon being in a cardinal sign until the end of the week and starting a new week with the moon in, moon in a cardinal sign, which is new direction, new beginning, new cycle, right? This is going to shift after the full moon in Capricorn, which is on June 21st, right? So after new moon in Capricorn, moon will start ending and beginning weeks with the fixed sign. So this is where the energy is changing. Once again, we started the year with moon in a mutable sign, and then it all shifted, right? I think it was alongside with the Pisces new moon, or I think it was Pisces new moon, right? When it shifted, in March. But anyway, now moon is still in the cardinal signs, and it's about to make a shift in June after the first new moon in full moon in Capricorn, which is the first full moon of the new moon, which already started this year. So this is where the change is happening. So actually, the last full moon, that is a midpoint of a new moon that got seeded in 2023, will be this one, Sagittarius full moon, the next full moon that we have coming for us. Actually, the next lunation we have coming on May 23rd, right? And as we know, on that day, Venus is conjuncting Jupiter, and Jupiter is moving into the sign of Gemini right after that, 2 days after that. So anyway, but once again, that's for another conversation. But just with this energy we see playing out this week, this is a preparation for the next step, which is the Gemini season. And this is a preparation for Mars conjuncting his own north node, not his own. This is incorrect because Mars does have a north node, but it's not. I don't even know where it is because I don't have the software for that. But Mars has a north node that is his own north node. This is a north node that is a collective ruled by Mars at the moment because north node is in Aries. So everything that's happening this week is a preparation for Mars North Node conjunction, which is the ultimate reset, because Mars is the ruler of the North Node, and North Node is the evolutionary potential. It's where we're going, and we know we're going in new direction. We don't know where it is. We don't know what it means. It's all this fool. Is this fool and the magician? Is this new direction? Well, great. We're going in a new direction. We're entering into new era. We are building a new world, new earth. But what it is, what it looks like, well, we don't know. We don't know because it's in the process of creating. And like I said, right after Mercury moves into Taurus, Moon will move into Virgo and trine Mercury. So this Moon in Virgo is saying, yeah, there is a lot of learning to be done yet. A lot of learning and adjusting and falling on our butt and, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, because how else we ever gonna, learn anything, right? So this is definitely supporting us in this process because Mercury plays a very significant role, and Mercury is just about to have a square with Pluto on Friday, right? And this is because we cannot stay too rigidly attached to the old way of thinking. Mercury is trying to help us ground the new energy, because Mercury was retrograde in Aries. But Mercury in Aries, when we look at the previous cycles, can be too attached to the old energy. We know what the new one feels like because we had a little bit of feeling like what that might be, especially before Pluto moved retrograde, station retrograde. But now, Mercury being in Taurus is going to square Pluto. It's going to say like, but are we ready to take an action on that? Because this is the first quarter square crisis in action. Are we ready to take an action on that? Because with Pluto retrograde is making us to go overthink. It's go internally and say like, okay, well, this is what this means. So what do I need to do, or what action do I need to take, or what do I need to adjust, especially with regards to, how I create my reality through what I think and believe, because Taurus is tangible. Mercury obviously rules two signs, and one of them is feminine, one of them has got a masculine polarity, because Gemini Taurus, Gemini Virgo, Earth and the air, but we are just about to move into the Gemini season, right? And Mercury will be in the sign of his own rulership in Gemini for the new moon in Gemini, which will take place on June 6, 2024. So anyway, so this is another thing, and then I have some interesting thing going on here. What is this? Oh yeah, the last Sun-Uranus conjunction, as I mentioned, took place right after the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So if we go back to that, because there are a few things I wanted to mention about it that I found very interesting. So backtrack. We start in the week with Sun in conjunction with Uranus, Monday the 13th. And this, as I mentioned, is closing the cycle that began in May 9th, 2023, which was right after the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, the last one that we experienced in Scorpio, because we had one more in Taurus in October. So at the time of this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, actually the North Node was in a new phase conjunction with the Sun. The North Node was in a closing phase conjunction with the Jupiter, at the time still in Aries. North Node was in Taurus. And Uranus was also in a new phase conjunction with Sun, So the Uranus was actually opposing that eclipse, because of course it's about moon, moon, lunar eclipse. Moon was in Scorpio in a new phase conjunction with the South Node. So we were already moving in this new direction, as we know, because this was post the first eclipse in Aries, right? So Uranus was opposing it, so it was about balancing. Sun was just about to make conjunction in Uranus, which took place a few days later, as I said, on the 9th, 4 days later. And Chiron, Jupiter was in a new phase conjunction to Chiron. So during this past year, we discovered a lot of things about where we wounded and what it is that is preventing us from stepping into this direction. And we had to learn to start balancing things. We had to start learning about ourselves in a more depth, because of course after that, only literally a few days later, Jupiter moved into the sign of Taurus, and Jupiter is just about to move into the sign of Gemini at the end of this month, right after his own full moon in Sagittarius. So this is very interesting. And at the time, of course, because as we kept mentioning throughout 2023, Pluto was squaring the nodes the entire year. And at the time of this lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which took place in May 2023, Pluto was squaring the South Node at the time still in Scorpio, which was, still part of this eclipse, new phase conjunction between Moon and the South Node in Scorpio. So this is something that started a cycle of us helping to learn to gather the strength and gather the trust within ourselves, that we can face our fears and balance these things, especially with Uranus being in Taurus. As I already mentioned in this video, Uranus is going to bring more and more unexpected things that are going to threaten our sense of material safety and security, or challenge us and test us to build our resiliency. So anyway, so I just wanted to mention this briefly because of Uranus being already at the time in a new phase conjunction with Sun, just as it was now during this new moon in Taurus, and then after this lunar eclipse, Sun and Uranus had a conjunction, just as it is case now. After this new moon in Taurus, which we just had now, Sun is making a conjunction to Uranus on Monday. But anyway, like I stopped myself midweek through, so with this Mercury moving into Taurus and Moon moving into the sign of Virgo, and then Mercury making a square to Pluto. And then, of course, we're going to end the week, as I already talked about, with Venus making a conjunction to Uranus herself as the ruler, Venus as the ruler of Uranus, and this is resetting the cycle which started when Venus was still the ruler of the North Node. So now Venus is the ruler of the South Node. So during the time of Venus being the ruler of the North Node and everything that took place at that time, we had the opportunity to learn more about ourselves. We are now putting it into practice because now Venus is helping us to resolve and evolve the South Node, which is this externalization of the power, which is what Pluto was pointing towards since July 2023 until the end of the year 2023, saying that this is the resolution node. This is where the imbalance comes from, because technically until this point majority of us and majority of our lives have been built on what somebody else is said, what somebody else is expected, what somebody else told us about ourselves. Somebody else is determining our sense of self-worth and value, and as I said in my past video, our sense of identity, which then impacts our sense of destiny and stuff like that. So now Venus conjuncting Uranus, being the ruler of Uranus once again, and being the ruler of the South Node, and in the time Sun still being in the sign of Taurus, therefore ruled by Venus also. This is helping us to reset these cycles and go, no, actually you can do it, I can do it, we can all do it, and tap into our own resourcefulness, our own inner strength, and make the changes that needs to be made, because there is no other way. Because like I said, at the end of the week, Mars is conjuncting North Node. So this is all of this that I just named is happening under influence of Mars being in a closing phase with North Node and saying, okay, are you ready? Are you ready? It's literally, are you ready? Because I'm about to go. Are you ready? So all these aspects are taking place prior to that, including, as I already talked about, the Sun. Sun, of course, is conjuncting Jupiter. This again was already present during this new moon in Taurus. However, now Jupiter also, just like Uranus, will be put behind Sun. Therefore, it will become closing phase. So Jupiter will be closing in a closing phase to Sun, which makes no sense, logically, after their conjunction, and it will be saying about the end of the story, the end of the story with regards to Taurus, because the story already was reset with Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and then Sun illuminated everything to do with Taurus, and now Sun is conjuncting Jupiter. So yeah, this story is dissonant, it's obsolete. That's it. This story of our value depending on what other people say, it's not working anymore, right? Because Venus already conjuncted Uranus also, just before Sun conjuncts Jupiter. So it's interesting that we have Venus conjuncting Uranus and Sun conjuncting Jupiter, and all of this is ruled by Venus, and as I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, under influence of Moon in a sign of Libra, also ruled by Venus, and this is all happening at the same time, right? So the story of the past is being reset, because once again, the last conjunction between Sun and Jupiter happened in the sign of Aries. It happened in the sign of Aries, so there was already the seeding of the future story, because the North Node was in Taurus and the South Node was in Scorpio, and Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, and Mars was the ruler of Jupiter at the time. So Mars was associated with the resolution node at the time, Scorpio node, which said, no, this is not the way forward anymore. And Mars is showing, no, there is a new direction that needs to be explored, ready or not, brave or not. And this is why we need to have a strong foundation, strong roots. And again, this is supporting Cancer, which is the sense of your emotional safety and security, how we nourish ourselves, how much we trust ourselves based on what labels we put ourselves, or preferably lack of labels, because you are not just one thing, because of course we are just about to enter Gemini season, Jupiter is just about to enter into Gemini, and Uranus is just about to enter Gemini next year for the first time. This is all about awakening to our multidimensionality and understanding that your resourcefulness, your resources were not built just over the period of this life. Your resourcefulness and your resources come from everything that took place before, all the previous lifetimes, all your ancestor lines, because as we can say, in these ancestors, they didn't pass on to us just the baton of the things that needs resolving and healing and integrated, but also all the gifts, all the wisdom, all their experiences. And I'm getting very choked up and emotional, so this is very profound. This is very profound. So it said all this wisdom of the past generation, including your own past lives and everything that came before, the collective imprints, the collective wisdom, the collective experience which is there in Akashic record, this all has been passed on to us as a resource. It all lives within you in your carbon DNA, because that's Pluto, right? Pluto rules the DNA and also the transmutation of DNA. And that's what's happening now. And Pluto is retrograde, right? So anyway, this is so profound this week. Again, this is a very, very, very busy week. Well, all the weeks now going forward are going to be busy. You know, this week of new moon in Taurus was especially quiet, I guess, for our own benefit of integrating and sitting with all these emotions, because, like, you know, Taurus, once again, it's a yin sign. It's about, you know, taking it within, grounding it, you know, grounding it in your body. So this is helping us to reconnect with ourselves on a more tangible level. But once we move into Gemini, different story, right? So anyway, so like I already talked about, we end the week with Sun making a first sextile to Neptune under influence of Moon on the late degrees of Libra. Right after Moon made a conjunction to South Node, Sun will make a first sextile to Neptune, which makes it a closing sextile, which is an Aquarius flavor, and this is under influence of Mars being in a closing phase conjunction to North Node, because the conjunction between Mars and the North Node will happen afterwards, and right after that, Moon will oppose Chiron, and Sun will move into the sign of Gemini, which is how we will begin the following week, starting from Monday the 20th, and then Moon will move into the sign of Scorpio, which is about this empowerment and disempowerment, preparation for the full moon in Sagittarius. So the last thing I want to mention with regards to all of this is that, as I already said, the last conjunction between Mars and, did I actually say that? The last conjunction between Mars and the North Node took place on August 1st, 2022, on 18 degrees and 33 minutes of Taurus. And actually, only a day later, Mars conjuncted Uranus. So Mars was in a closing phase conjunction to Uranus at the time when Mars last conjuncted North Node, but that was in the sign of Taurus. So it was ruled by Venus at the time, and Venus was the ruler of Uranus, and Mars just started a new cycle with Uranus only a day later, which again is telling us that the new cycle between Mars and the North Node with regards to new direction, how we feel about ourselves. Again, Mars is how Pluto acts consciously, and subsequently Mars started a new cycle with Uranus. This is the way forward towards individuation, breaking free, and helping us to step into our sovereignty, reclaim our sovereignty, because it's always been there. And just before Mars made a conjunction to North Node last time in August 2022, so Mars was again in a closing phase conjunction to North Node, just like Mars is now at the time of Sun making a first sextile to Neptune. Venus made a square to Chiron, so the day before, 31st of July 2022, Venus was in Cancer. So actually the first thing that took place was Mercury made an opposition to Saturn, at the time retrograde in Aquarius. Mercury was in Leo, you know, like listen to your heart, right? Venus was in Cancer, helping us to tap into our emotions, right? Was making a square to Chiron, so we can understand what it is that we need to heal, right? Then North Node made, and Uranus had a conjunction, because like I said, Uranus was already in a new phase conjunction to North Node at the time when Mars conjuncted North Node, and then Mars conjuncted Uranus subsequently. And also Sun made a trine to Jupiter at the time in Aries, and Sun was in the sign of Leo. Listen to your heart. So we're going back to 2022, and we can see how all of that was being supported already because of the North Node being in the sign of Taurus. We had the opportunity in the past, 2 years minus the last 6 months, to, well, more than that. Since January 2022 until July 2023, we had the opportunity to discover more about ourselves, about who we are, our needs, values, relationship to ourselves, all of the rest of it. And this was all supported by Venus, and of course Venus moves fairly quickly, so Venus was, you know, changing signs quite frequently, but all of these got activated, you know, with these energies of new beginning, with regards to, you need to get to know yourself if you want to be conscious about the ability to break free, because that ability is already within us, but are we conscious of it? This is the question, which is why, you know, with so many activations between Saturn and these planets, and also Neptune and these planets, a lot of things are becoming conscious. And also Saturn is the last visible planet, so it's bringing a lot of things to the surface, you know, this Pisces, this world that we cannot see, it's behind the veil, is becoming very conscious, it's becoming very tangible. Saturn is, you know, turning form into formulas and formulas into form. So all this has been supported already throughout 2022, and of course we can go all the way back, because we are living cycles within the cycles within the cycles. But once again, I wanted to mention that because this is the cycle that's ending now, you know, the last North Node Mars conjunction happened in Taurus, when Uranus was already in a new phase conjunction with North Node, Sun trine to Jupiter, like I said, Mercury opposed Saturn, and Venus made a square to Chiron, and right after Mars conjuncted the North Node, Mars conjuncted Uranus. So that cycle is now ending, and Mars is starting a new cycle with regards to North Node being in Aries, ruled by himself, and this is supporting us in this new trajectory that we are stepping into. And this is once again preparation for Gemini season, which is all about the choice and embodying our multidimensionality, and full moon in Sagittarius, which is illumination of the story that got seeded with the end of 2023, the new story that we will be growing into and cultivating as the time goes on, which could be anything you want it to be, because Jupiter is going to move into Gemini at the end of the month on May 25th. And this is also preparing us then after that for the new moon in Gemini. What do we choose? What do we choose? So anyway, guys, we are on 55 minutes, so very, very deeply into this video. I want to pull a few cards, and then we, of course, do the rest of it with the practical application of astrology. But I actually have decks that don't have very crazy descriptions, very lengthy ones. So, and I was being called to use this deck. It's called Star Temple. I don't know why. It's again one of my new decks, which I never used before. So let's just see what wants to come through with regards to this energy that we will be playing with in this upcoming week, with all these crazy aspects that we have going on. So let's see. Okay, guidance for the upcoming week, starting from May 13th. And everything that, oh, okay, we have a flyer. The Lapis Lazuli star, starlight, my inner vision guides me to my higher purpose. And it's the number 35, which is associated, which is number 8. We are in the year 8, the year of strength. And look, all these beautiful colors, all these beautiful women. And yeah, lapis lazuli, that beautiful blue, you know, that beautiful blue associated with your third eye. So it's Asterope, the lapis lazuli star. Okay, let's see. Number 35. And this is Menope series. Menope is the faintest star of Pleiades star cluster. She is white and violet in color, but often not visible to the naked eye. Her name means face turned, referring to the myth surrounding her disappearance from the night sky. Oh no, actually, sorry, this is Menope. That's the one after. Sorry, this is still the third eye. That would have been crown chakra. This is Asterope series. So cancel what I just said. This is, well, it reads as Easterapy series. Oh yeah, it's on the card. Done. Easterapy series. Easterapy is one of the faintest stars in the Pleiades. It's interesting because Pleiades were coming up last week, and Pleiades, we know, are healers. They are helping us to heal, and apparently, from what I understand, Pleiades is one of the higher vibrational being from higher dimension that can actually lower their vibration to like fifth dimension, or maybe even fourth dimension, so we can reach them, so they can come as close to us as they possibly can. So if we raise our vibration, they can connect with us the easiest, because I know there are ladies that still are embodied in the physical, and then of course there are some that are in a higher dimensional realms, which don't have a physical body, right? But anyway, the ladies were already coming up last week during some of the card pulls. So Asterope is the faint stars of Pleiades constellation, and is something sometimes difficult to see with the naked eye. Her name means lightning or starry face, and she's often referred to as Star Mother. The chakra, third eyes, crystal lapis lazuli, and then there is the mythology of this archetype, the visionary. Okay, so we visioning, right? Okay, so I'm not gonna read the history because we're running out of time, but we're gonna read the archetype visionary. With the gift of foresight and intuitive vision, Asterope represents the visionary. As a clairvoyant, she has clear psychic visions and is able to see the bigger picture for the universal collective. Her dream is to assist with cosmic ascension through empathic leadership and grace. She exemplifies the third eye chakra, helping you to connect to your inner vision and creative imagination. Asterope, other archetypes include the mother, creatrix, and wise woman or crone. In these aspects, she supports and sustains rebirth, fruitfulness, and feminine strength. She will support you to find, release, and manifest your higher purpose and nurture it through to fruition. Well, there are so many keywords that have been repeating, like the fruition, we reap what we sow. We are putting the roots down, so then we can reap new fruits of what we sowing, not just see the totality on a manifestation of the Pisces age, but we will see manifestation of this new energy, which we are seeing now, but also the feminine. Venus is still in the sign of her rulership in Taurus. And like I said, we have all these aspects taking place. I believe it was Saturday, right? Saturday, yes, when we have the moon in Libra, Venus making a conjunction to Uranus, and Sun making a conjunction to Jupiter, and this is all under the rulership of Venus. So this is all about the divine feminine, and which is not limited to female like women, but it's all about this rise of the divine feminine, the reconnection with our senses, with our intuition, with our like self-nurture, and also trusting ourselves. Is all that feminine. The mother trusts herself, she trusts her instinct, she doesn't question herself. Well, I mean, some do, but usually the first instinct is always the right one. So this is definitely a confirmation, and is the third eye. You have your own vision you can connect to. You don't need someone outside of you to tell you. So this card in particular, so that was the series. So of course it's associated with chakras, which, like I said, I haven't worked with this before. So this is the third eye chakra, and this part of the deck is about this Asterope. And now we have the lapis lazuli star. My inner vision guides me to my higher purpose. Star words, insight, perception, and passion. The lapis lazuli star inspires personal and spiritual power. This energetic vortex reveals inner truth, encourages self-awareness, and promotes self-confident, intuitive expression. The lapis lazuli crystal is known to open the third eye chakra and balance the throat chakra. It stimulates psychic sides and enhances dream recall and interpretation. Wear or place lapis lazuli at the throat to amplify clairvoyance and visualization. In collaboration with the third eye, this crystal clarifies psychic and mediumship connection, thus increasing contact with the spirit realm for healing messages. And yeah, this is exactly it, right? Neptune, spirit, Uranus, going beyond. Also with Mercury, going to be, it's the upcoming ruler of both Jupiter, which is the, wisdom, our truth, and also Uranus. Once Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini, this is about going beyond. It's about tapping into our telepathy, tapping into our psychic powers so we can receive the information from within. We don't have to rely on the news or someone else to tell us. And this is part of it. This is part of Taurus. Once again, all these tools already live within us. So I mean, I was going to use different deck, but I really feel very strong. I felt very strongly called to use this deck, and now I understand why. Because it's encouraging this path. And then we have 43, Father of the Sky, God, I release the weight of the world from my shoulders. This is at the bottom of the deck. 43, Atlas. Okay, let's see. I mean, this video is just gonna have to be long. I'm really sorry. Of course, who doesn't have a time doesn't have to watch it, but I really feel that I need to read what this represents. So Atlas and Pleione series, Atlas and Pleione, actually I read it right, are the final two stars that make up the Pleiades star constellation. Atlas star, the brighter of the two, sits just below Pleiades. In Greek mythology, they were well-known lovers and parents to their 7 treasured star daughters of Pleiades. Then there is the brief history and the archetypes, the mother and the father. Pleione and Atlas symbolize the sacred union of the divine feminine and divine masculine. Oh my God, I'm getting literally goosebumps all over the body. Together, they are the unified essence of mother and father archetypes. Their supportive, reciprocal, and co-creating partnership represents the divine balance between God and Goddess. Pleione shines her guiding light so bright for both her beloved Atlas and the universe. In turn, he holds her and the entire cosmos up. They share a sacred mission to love unconditionally. Together in a full embrace, they uphold their joint vision of a balanced world. As a mother archetype, Pleione is also the queen, goddess, and creatrix. As the father archetype, Atlas is also the king, god, and creator. They love and support their children unreservedly and reign together with integrity and conviction. They co-create magical synergy as one. And this card in particular is actually the first card, and is the card 43, which adds up to number 7, which is Neptune, spirituality, connection. You can see this God with all this in his hands. He's got the entire universe in his hands, in his power. It seems like he's got pretty good roots, right? Now he ascended those. So the God, Father of the Sky, I release the weight of the world from my shoulders. Star world words, divine masculine, king and creator. Atlas carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, right? It's got the earth. So it's not just the cosmos. It's actually the planet Earth, right? That's the mythology. He implores you to release your burdens to the Father in the sky for transmutation. It is time to heal and unify. Neptune, heal, right? Unify. That's the highest frequency of Neptune, unity consciousness. Unify the divine masculine in your world. Maybe you need to forgive a father figure for your own transformation. Perhaps you have too much on your plate. Whatever it might be, it is time to release, surrender, and delegate. Ask for help. Atlas supports your higher pathway. Call on him to help you make energetic space for passion, purpose, and abundance in every area of your life. Abundance, Taurus. Purpose, Leo. Okay, so we have the third eye activation, and we have the release of that what no longer serves, Neptune archetype, releasing of the burden. Okay, one message from Carl Gray. We have the raise your frequency. This is literally just a word, just a short messages. Let's see if I can get it out. Yes, okay. Raise your frequency, a brief message. What do we have? Oh, something flew out. Okay, something did flow out. 2 cards. Let your inner fire warm you, not burn you, and my aura is magnetic to golden opportunities. My aura is magnetic to golden opportunities, and let your inner fire warm you, not burn you. And we can see the sun. And look, all these rainbow. It looks almost like these Pleiades. Okay, so let your fire warn you, not burn you is ignite, and my aura is magnetic. Oh gosh, there is more. There is more. Ancient wisdom. Okay, that's activate. 144. 144 and ignite and activate. 56. 11. 144. 9. 56. Okay, let's see what Carla Gray has to say about this. Okay, 56, here we go. Let your inner fire warm you, not burn you. Your inner fire is the passion you hold within. It's the part of you that wants to make a difference. It sounds like Leo. It's the part of you that has get up and go. It's the part of you that wants to keep going when everything else is telling you to stop. This flame of inspiration in the core of your being is bright, inspired, and focused. It lights up when you tune into your passion. You tend that flame when you listen to your intuition and express your most authentic self. Like all fires, however, if you put too much fuel on it, your inner fire can become too hot and uncontrollable. It's important to keep it contained and centered. Today, the universe is acknowledging your gifts and passions, but encouraging you to slow down, take your time, and rest. Let yourself be filled up until you are overflowing rather than operating on half empty. You'll enjoy it more, and so will the world. And vibe of the day, I take the time to replenish my energy. Sounds like Taurus. Self-preservation. Get to know yourself. Okay, and then the second one that flew out. 144. Okay, so that's the activation card, right? My aura is magnetic to golden opportunities. Our aura is the outward projection of our energy system. When we do deep spiritual work, face our own darkness, dedicate ourselves to our spiritual practice, and participate in our own wellness, it becomes radiant with light, and those around us see beyond our self-perceived flaws and tune directly into who we truly are. Right now, your aura is radiant. You are in sacred space. You have dedicated much time, effort, and energy to reclaiming your wholeness. You have faced your shadow. You have been dedicated to your own healing. You have chosen to remember the light of your soul. Currently, the doors of opportunity are swinging open for you. Any exciting new invitations, connections, and inspirations that are coming through are divinely guided. This is the time you bask in the glory of your gifts and to express your most authentic self. Your energy field is magnetic, and it's attracting people, places, situations, opportunities, ideas, connections, and angels that will lead you towards the fulfillment of your highest and greatest good. And the vibe of the day is my energy is radiant and magnetic. So this definitely seems to me that one is connected to the other. It feels like the Leo, and this feels like the Taurus. You know, like you follow your purpose, you contain your fire, but follow your passions. You know, don't. I read somewhere, don't allow your passions to become obsessions. You know, like fuel your passions and act on your passions, but don't let them to become an obsession. And then when we do that, when we step into our power, reclaim our power, live an authentic life by reclaiming who we really are, then your aura becomes so magnetic, then literally you attract everything that you want towards you. Nothing is too little or too much. Okay, already 1 hour, 12 minutes. Let's just pull a major arcana for this week, and that's it. Okay. Major Arcana guidance. What is the Major Arcana for this week? Just one card, Spirit. Oops. Oh my god, 2 cards again. No, 3 cards. Okay, well, let's take it. Emperor, Death, and the Moon. Okay, what's at the bottom? Let's see. Star, of course. Star keeps coming up for us a lot. Okay, so we have these 4 cards. We have Star and the Moon, look. So we have the Emperor, Death, and the Moon. That's interesting because Emperor, of course, meant to represent Aries. I always call it the Mars in Capricorn, as far as I'm concerned. You know, is the king, is the emperor, is the divine masculine, right? So we have to heal, we have to transform, you know, the death and rebirth, the Scorpio. We need to transform the past, Moon, the past, also face our shadows, the Moon, the things of our subconscious which we can't see or don't want to see, right? So, and that's number 18 in opposition with Hierophant, Virgo, Pisces and Virgo. So learning and adjusting, we need to face our shadows in order to be able to transmute them into something that would allow us to step into our own authority, Capricorn, our own authority, into our own power of being a conscious creator of our reality, Emperor. And then we have the Star. And this is the bright future that requires healing. Also, 1 foot on earth, 1 foot in the water. Taurus, Cancer, you know, but it's the card of Aquarius. And this is like Pleiades, right? The 7 sisters. Pleiades, Pleiadians. Look at that. This is the back of the card. The Pleiades. So, yeah, isn't that interesting? So this is what we've got, guys, right? So number 13, the Death, which is actually Death and this guy, Emperor, are related because they keep saying that the guy that's here, he's wearing the same thing. You know, it's like it's like the Emperor that's gone through transmutation, right? He's wearing the same armor. The same armor, right? And it's a Scorpio, traditionally ruled by Mars. This is meant to be Aries card, ruled by Mars, right? So these two are connected. So we need to face the past, the subconscious, you know, face the past to be able to transmute it, you know, transmute it, let some of it die, because there is this possibility for the new, the child, you know, the death is sparing the child, you know, and the white rose, the opportunity for the new beginning, the white horse, the white rose, and the child, you know, the rebirth, because we are stepping into this new future, the hope for the future, you know, healing, going beyond Aquarius, through stepping into your Capricorn, you know, your power, even though, yes, this is not the card that's meant to be Capricorn, you know, that's devil. But to me, this is not Aries. Look at that beard. Aries is a child. It's the beginning of the cycle. Is the Mars, you know, the Aries, the ram, but it's the Mars in Capricorn, you know. Mars in Capricorn. So this is the CEO. Become the CEO of your life. And then you can create whatever future you want. Going beyond, starting from the scratch. So this is perfect, right? And yeah, and we have the stars, the Pleiadian sisters, healing, Pleiadian sisters. And we had this, you know, balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and grounding yourself in tapping into your resources to actually learn to trust your intuition, connect with your vision, lapis lazuli, and speak your truth, express yourself, and let some of that worry, some of that burden you've been carrying go. Give it back to God. Give it back to God, the God of the sky, right? And yeah, what we had these messages. Your aura is magnetic. Remember, you are not just the body. And then let your fire burn you, not burn you. Too much fire, right? Too much Aries. Okay, guys, super long video. I'll leave it at this. I hope that some of this was helpful. I'm recording this is in the afternoon, which is not my time, but I have to be flexible and adjustable to my current environment. So I hope that it was useful, and I will pop in again when I can with my practical application of astrology. I wish everybody much love and have a wonderful weekend, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye, everyone.